Good morning, guys. What's up with y'all?
Designated schools. Smoking on. Yeah, cigarettes.
Unhelp you.
I mean, bro, if you had no job and you were gonna be out on the streets, but I was offering you 12 to 15 an hour to do paperwork, I would drive an hour and a half to do that.
Yeah.
I drove an hour and a half for $10 an hour to get my ass cracked.
I'm muted, Edgar.
And Saturdays.
Would you rather have?
I'd rather have someone close, but on that
Yeah.
subject,
But they're waitressing, bartending, doing all those jobs.
that's fine.
Like, they're making tips and all that shit.
It's fine.
Cause that's what I was doing. It's a
Yeah.
way better deal here, you know. Are you talking about assistant
As
or
an
are you talking about?
assistant though, as an
Oh.
assistant.
Assistant
Not an
attorney.
agent. Yeah, not as an agent.
Yeah,
They can always
recruit
become
those
one.
girls. Recruit those girls
As agents,
as callers or something. Tips as callers, agents. Agents are fine too.
yeah, you're right.
We got everyone in here, Edgar, I think.
I think so.
hopefully, on the virtual world. Oh, we lost a little boom. The little mic boom's gone. All right, guys. Look alive. Sales coffee has begun. Our mic is dead. Can you guys hear me okay without the mic? Can you make them bigger? There he goes. All right, Barrios. It's all right. All gonna pay off someday. Don't worry. All right. Well, I feel like we're missing like half the agency in here, but we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah. Yeah.
Matt Brown still taking on Friday.
Well, I'd like to start this sales coffee off like I do every sales coffee with some questions. And then I want to go over some verbiage on booking same days. Because same days are showing to be most effective. We had our biggest week. We had a lot of same days. We had good show ratio. When we had smaller weeks, we had 18% show ratio. Last week, our squad, my squad, had a 38% show ratio because we were calling Monday for Tuesday and we weren't letting the clients push us to Wednesday. We were calling Tuesday morning. Since we started Monday's booking with late Tuesday times, odds are you work your way up to pretty much 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. If you got to a point where those times were booked up, then I would start booking for Wednesday. I'd put a few on Wednesday night, but I'd always leave myself 8 to 1 if I were you guys, so you can call 8 to 10, 8 to 12 for Wednesday. So that right there, Monday, you book for Tuesday, a couple fell over to Wednesday, Tuesday morning, 8 to 12, you book for Wednesday, and almost everybody shows. So that's the secret, and I want to go over some verbiage like that. And then on Thursday, it's the same story. You're booking hard for Friday, and then Saturday morning, when everyone and their mom is home and answering the phone, you're booking hard for Sunday. And that just made up an entire week of next day books, especially with Will Kits and Child Safe. I think the Will Kits and Child Safe, if you really are using those types of leads, and that's the remainder of your juice is going to come from those, then I would suggest to start doing what I saw my man Marvin do yesterday, which was getting someone on the Zoom call after he booked them for the Will Kit. He's like, hey, Roberto, called him on. He went right behind one of these windows, put his badge on, put his glasses on, put his smile on. Oh, you're in? Oh, you can see me? Great. Yeah, Roberto, I'm Marvin. This is my union badge here. Like I said, we're a unionized benefit company. You know, we're the ones handling the Will Kit request. I'm your licensed professional with the state of Illinois. How you doing? You look great. Awesome. Did you just get off work? Whatever. A couple seconds of rapport, solidify again, get him off the Zoom. That Will Kit or Child Safe is going to show way more than they would if you just booked them for the phone. But let's start off with some questions, guys, and we'll kind of end on those types of things. Does anyone in this room have any questions at all about anything, really? ALP-wise, sales-wise? I do. Let's see if I can. Steven does. Sit down for once in one of these. All right, Stephen Ellis, what is your question?
So, first off, Vince, I appreciate you taking time to do this for us. Good man.
Thanks. You're welcome, Stephen. You're welcome.
So, when you're sitting down with more like older people that are like more qualified in a sense where they're like, a little wealthier, more intelligent, sometimes like they'll give you a bunch of crap at the beginning, like, what's this all about? We don't need to know insurance, yada, 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 Said I'm like, no problem. There's an analysis determine if you even need anything. Just our job to go over both sides of the program.
You open these blinds.
And like a lot of times I'll, when I start to transition like from the whole like the additional benefits, they, I'll kind of get them like hooked or at least interested where it's like, at first they're like, wanted nothing to do with it. But then, once you start going into it, they're like, obviously they don't really know what we know.
Right, now
So
they're
it's like-
questioning what they have.
Yeah, so it's like educational. But then when you pitch them options, a lot of times it's like they don't want to make a decision right away. It's like they do want to think about it, check the budget. Like I thought those people are like harder to like get them to pull the trigger right away. You know what I mean? What advice do you have, old wise man?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would say, first of all, did you guys all hear his question? Okay. The first thing I would say with older, sophisticated people like that is acting older and sophisticated yourself. So those are the sits where I start to pull out the indeterminate hole, like, let's say you're my age, I'm not quite there yet. Let's say you're 35. And then I'll be like, I'm 29, but let's say you're my age, I'm not quite there. Let's say you're 35. Or I won't even say I'm 29. I'll just let them assume that I'm close to 35. Especially now that you guys are making me lose all my hair. It looks down. No, but that's something I start to do is just to really become more of an adult in that sit. Like, for example, knowing like current events that are going on, being someone that can talk about world events, world news. That's something that these older people are always doing, right? So, in rapport, when they're kind of giving me that vibe that they're the type of older, sophisticated client that doesn't want anything today, the biggest thing I can say before all the tips is like the mindset. If he makes me feel nervous, if he makes me feel like he's old and he's too good for the product, then that's going to transfer right from me into the words I'm saying, into the notions I'm giving, into my tonality. And they're going to feel that energy coming off me, and they're going to continue to feel such a way. So I try to put a stop to that. And I just let all those emotions and internal thoughts that I get from them go in one ear and right out the other. Kind of almost got to get like a little bit crazy about it. Like start talking smack about them in your head while you're looking at them, That way you can kind of get calm and kind of be more comfortable. Like, Joe, like, what is Joe? Like, I'll ask Joe, I'll start quizzing Joe about like things pretty much in general. I'll be like, oh, okay, you don't want any additional benefit? No problem, Joe. There's a needs analysis that will determine whether you need anything anyway. Let me ask you something, Joe. When was the last time one of my guys or girls was even out here? Okay, and I'll introduce myself, at the very beginning. I'm always introducing myself as one of the quality control managers out of the main facility in Des Plaines, or sometimes since I got a 412 number, I'll say out of the main facility in Pennsylvania. They ship me all the way out here because a lot of you guys and girls in the Carpenters Union have been filling out these cards and haven't been seen, Joe. Let me ask you, when's the last time you filled out that card? I'll pull it up and refresh your memory. It was a while ago? Okay, so has anyone ever actually got the benefits out to you before? Any of my guys or girls ever delivered these before? And when they say no, now I feel a little bit more confident because I know I know my pitch is going to blow him away. I know the discount card is going to blow his mind. He's thinking it's about to be like some timeshare crap where I just give him a bunch of useless information and then try to sell him. But once I go through the ratings and who we are and how unique we are and how my ass is traveling state to state to handle people like him who are filling out these cards that haven't been seen, he's going to start taking me a little bit more serious. He's going to start taking the program a little bit more serious. So it starts with the rapport and introducing yourself, making them get that quality control number, take out all the stuttering, all the ums, all the looking down, all the looking away. I mean, you got to look them right in the eyes, look them right in the camera's eye, and you got to be very, very fluent. If you let them get you thinking like that, odds are you're going to be holding back with some of these and yeah, so basically guys, essentially, you know, that kind of stuff, right? They're just going to continue to think like less of you and less of you, less of you, but you look like a baby. That's the first thing. So you gotta like look, talk, act, smell like an older professional.
I gotta smell.
Well, you're not in person, so you don't gotta smell, I guess, you know, but
I smell bad.
when you're in person, you gotta smell good. Anyway, so it starts there with the rapport, with the words you're saying, how you carry yourself, the way you're dressed, the way that you talk, you know, and that's all a mindset. So you can't let them get you out of that mindset. You got to stay strong. You got to stay in control. I'm busy. I'm important. I'm in control, right? When he tells me he hasn't been seen before, I get even more confident to do these things. I'm like, oh, this guy's blowing smoke. He hasn't even been seen before, and he's telling me he doesn't want to buy anything. He doesn't even know what I'm going to give him. He doesn't even know what this program has. He doesn't even probably know what term in whole life is. So, you know, that's where it would start with me. I would build this big story up at the beginning. And I would tell him, when's the last time you filled out the card? Yeah. Oh, just a few months ago, Stephen? Man, that's crazy. Usually a lot of the carpenters out of your local are telling me that it's been taking years, sometimes even 3-4 years to be seen. So I'm glad we caught you today, Joe. That's actually the reason why they have me traveling all the way out here from Pennsylvania. I'm almost never in the same state. You know, they got me out here. I've been to Florida. I've been to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, you know, all the unionized states. And they finally, I know they like to ship me out to Illinois every couple of years too. Last time I was here was 3 years ago. Well, really, I was here 2 years ago. That's not even a lie. Last time I was here was 2 years ago. We were down in Peoria. You know, now they've had us up in the northern hemisphere of Illinois. You know, Decatur, DeKalb. Let's see, what else? We got Waukegan. We got Crystal Lake, Antioch, Elgin, Carpentersville. And now they got me down here in Aurora with you, Joe. So you guys are some of the last few carpenters that fill out these cards that haven't been seen. And that's why they keep me traveling. You know, I'm glad we saw you though. I'm glad it was just a few months ago because it's taken us a while. There's so many people filling out the cards, and there's only so many of me. There's only so many of us. And then they'll sit there and be like, this is wow, like this is a serious program. Like this dude's traveling all over the country. He's seeing all these union members. He said he just dropped the little statement that he works with 40,000 different unions, and he's one of the quality control managers, and he drove out here from Pennsylvania. I tell him I drove out here from Pennsylvania. We've been handling this area, that area, that area. Glad we caught you so quick. You guys familiar with the area that I was in 3 years ago? I was in Peoria. Oh yeah, Peoria. That's something else down there. Yeah, it really is. It was pretty boring down there. But you know, honestly, Joe, I like a lot of the areas that you're in, like Peoria, Springfield, Champaign. You guys seem more laid back, more family oriented, a little bit more welcoming, and just a little bit more serious. You know, so I like sitting down with you guys as opposed to, you know, the people up here in Chicago. Have you ever been up here to Chicago? Man, I don't know if you've ever been to Chicago before. They'll usually say, yeah, once or twice if they live down south. Because I'm guessing these more sophisticated people you're talking about are in the southern hemisphere, right?
Yeah, I mean, just near miss.
But yeah, so you know that's like you gotta relate to them in that sense. You know, you gotta make them know that you're the guy that knows. You're the boss. This is your show. This is you're the star of it. And you've got the juice, not them, right? So announcing where you've come from, announcing the urgency of how many cards are filled out, how we're not getting to everybody, and that's why you're traveling, having an Airbnb in Wheeling. You know where Wheeling is, right? He's like, wow, this dude really has been all over the place. This is 3 different towns he's already dropped now. And really, I live in a rental in Wheeling, right? But I say, I'm living in Airbnb in Wheeling. Yeah, I'm like in a suburb. There's just like a baseball field that left me, all these kids running around. You should have seen when we were out here 3 years ago. We were out there for Halloween. It was nuts, you know. But I really like your guys' area, yada, yada, yada. I'm glad we caught you on our last few days. You said it's been just a few months that you fill out the card. Okay. Now, has anyone ever actually delivered these benefits to you before? All right, no problem. And before all this, there's the control, right? There's the first things first when they get on the Zoom. There's the getting the confirmation number before they even proceed, right? Hey, Joe, can you see me? Can you hear me? Great, awesome. Go ahead and grab that quality control confirmation code. It's going to go from him wondering who you are, what this program is, and down talking you because you look young to, all right, this young man just made me get my ass up off the couch and go get this code. This is serious. And before we start, Joe, I need to make sure I'm talking to the right Joe and Mary. Go ahead and grab that confirmation code I had you write down over the phone. He gets his ass up. He goes walking around. When he's coming back, I'll say, Mary, also, if you want to, you let him know to just get to a table, pull some notes out, prop the phone up somewhere. Are we using a laptop or a phone right now? Phone, do you have a laptop or tablet? I would highly suggest grabbing that tablet or laptop real quick, Mary. It's going to make things go a whole lot quicker and easier today, and it'll make it a lot more easy to see and hear as well. They're moving all over the place for you. They get to a table. They announce the confirmation code. You're like, perfect. So you must be Joe. You must be Mary then. Awesome. I'm Stephen Ellis with American Income. Obviously, we handle some of your benefits to the Carpenters. Here's my, since I know who you are now, you know who I am. Here's my office professionals badge. We're all out of the OPEIU, the local 277. I hold that sucker up, and they'll look at it. I let it clear up, and they'll go, oh, okay. And I'll say, all right, guys, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm just going to punch in your information here. Don't think I'm being rude on my laptop or phone. You know how everything's digital these days. And that's when I start dropping the shit about where I came from, how long ago you filled out the card, the areas, the quality control manager line. You guys can say anything you want. Servicing manager. You guys can say retention, I don't know, not retention, but you guys get the idea. Like there's enrollment specialist. Yes, I'm the enrollment specialist. They always send me out to different areas because a lot of people like yourself have filled out the card, haven't been seen. So I'm just making sure that you guys actually got your benefits. You guys must have not got them yet, right? Meanwhile, what? He already told me he hasn't got them before. Boom. Right? He told me he hasn't got him before. He told me he's never been seen before. And I tell him a little bit later, I'm one of the enrollment specialists. So that's exactly why I'm out here. Looks like you were one of the last few members in your area. Right? So he knows I'm sleep deprived. He knows I'm working 12, 14-hour days, 7 days a week for him and for members like himself. And it's not just your union, Stephen. It's 40,000 other unions as well. How long have you been in the Carpenters for? Yeah, we work with them. Unfortunately, we work with the electrical workers too, Joe. You know how they are. Right, so you just got to have that swagger. You can't hold back. You got to know what these adults like. You got to know what they play into. A lot of older, tougher people as well that are like around when Vietnam happened and everything, and their parents were in World War II and so on and so forth. Like those are the kind of people I start dropping things about, like how I hate our generation. Like, oh, yeah, did you grow up here your whole life? Oh, okay. Mom and dad still? Yeah, my dad around. Okay. You know, and my dad was actually a Vietnam. What'd your dad do? Oh, he was a Vietnam vet. He served? Oh my God. I drop everything. I'm like, I tell you what, man, I have the utmost respect for any veterans. Vietnam was a life-changing war. And honestly, your dad has probably seen so much adversity. My generation, we're so, I feel like there's just never going to be another generation like your dad's ever again. We're out here complaining about COVID-19 and, you know, a couple things like that. And meanwhile, your dad's generation saw 2 world wars almost, another pandemic, a stock market crash, Great Depression, right? Vietnam, right? Presidents were getting assassinated. So I definitely, wow, that's awesome that your dad was in Vietnam. Did he ever tell you any stories about it? I'll go into it more. When he talks about how his occupation, carpenters, whatever, man, you're working hard out there. Yeah, I'm sure there's not too many young guys like me and the carpenters right now that you're working with, is there? Right? Yeah. That's because, like I said, our generation's soft, huh? Yeah. He's gonna be like, all right, this dude knows. This dude's he's aligning with my values. I do think your generation's a bunch of you-know-whats. I do think there's never going to be a greater generation than the one that just passed, right? Now you know your history, you know the generations, you know the areas. You're talking confident, you're looking confident, and it doesn't matter how old you are at that point. He's going to buy you, you know. And the urgency's there with the traveling too. And then now he's wondering, what a guy, what a program. I wonder what he's about to show me. You finish off rapport. Tell you what, I'll go ahead and get started. You execute your why we're there flawlessly, confidently. There should be nothing he has to say. Additional benefits. Oh, yeah, we're good on those, Stephen. We don't need any additional. No problem, Joe. No problem, Joe. There's actually a needs analysis to determine whether you even need any of those anyway. And honestly, like I said before, they're at a union negotiated rate. So I don't even know if you could qualify for them regardless. But like we said, though, if you do end up seeing a need, even though you have something, or you do want to qualify today, we still got to make sure we follow the system, and we would have to get you enrolled in those today. So even though he tried to take it away from me and say that he doesn't need those, I'm not just going to be like, oh, don't worry, there's needs analysis anyway. I'm going to say there's needs analysis anyway, and I'm going to reiterate, well, hey, buddy, if they do make sense, I ain't varying from the process. I take my job seriously, a lot of pride and professionalism. We do still got to get you enrolled right away. And he's going to respect that. He's like, no, I see that. I see that. I'm just saying, we don't need it. Okay, no problem. You know, and then go into everything. Just execute those ratings. Execute those ratings very well. And that's what Geo is really good at, is like using what they give you in rapport about their occupation and their union, and kind of putting it into reasons about why we were created and why we're here. If you can put those things into what he's saying about his career, it's going to align with him much better. Almost like our example of how you're an enrollment specialist and you see people that don't get seen, and then he hasn't been seen. You tied those two together because he already told you he hasn't been seen. You're smart enough and proactive enough and on the ball enough to be like, yeah, that's exactly why I'm out here. I'm actually an enrollment specialist. It's my job to see the people that have been missed, like yourself. So the same way that I just tied that in right there is the same way I'm going to use his rapport and his occupation and his opinions to tie the company's existence in to him as well, to his family and his life as well. We've got to understand these unions are their livelihood, whether they want to be an a-hole or not. We are the only 100% unionized insurance company working with his union. And that union's been providing for his family and his kids and his retirement and his pension and his health insurance for his entire life up to this point. So I already have a lot of control coming in. I got a letter from his president and everything. A lot of you guys should research unions and what they were made for, and their brotherhood and like the kind of alliance that they form together when we're not looking at the jobs, at the meetings. A lot of them don't care. A lot of them just go and work to get a paycheck. But most of these guys, especially in Illinois, they do care about those things. They will respond to, you know, remarks and situations that are threatening to the union. You know, they do have pride in it. So you're coming from that union. If you continue to carry that pride, and you're in this be union by union spirit, and then you bring all these thousands of dollars with the no cost benefits, and you tied in the reason why we're here with some good stuff about him and everything like that. I mean, he's gonna look at you as the most serious guy on the planet at that point. He's gonna think you got like gold in your little folder there. Like, you're gonna keep that, these no cost. He's like, what's in that damn folder? Can we just get started already? Enough about the company. What is in the folder? What are we gonna go over? You've talked this program up to sound like it's the best thing since sliced bread. Let's hear it, right? And that's why you gotta, and now you're feeling like you're pressured. You're feeling like they're going at you because they're older. You're getting those internal objections. I'm not going to sell him. He's more wealthy. He's more this. He's more that. Now, when you go into your ratings, now when you go into the why we're there, you may not execute it as well. They're going to see that. And that trend is going to continue. And you're going to continue to look more like the kid and less like the teacher and the boss, right? So again, I'll continue this kind of shit into term and whole. When he doesn't know something about term and whole, I'll be humble, but I'll call him out. Joe, you know what happens then? I don't know. Does it go up? Yeah, actually, no problem. Most people don't know. I know you said you have something, so I was thinking that you would know. But term, it does actually go up. The thing is, though, Joe, right? Mary too. Call it Mary. In the will, during the will, where it talks about the executor, estate information, last will and testament. I go over. Now, this is one of the most important parts, is obviously the estate information, right? We talk about the life insurance. That's the main reason our will is a no-cost benefit. But before that, when you get comfortable and when you're fluent and knowledgeable in these topics, feel free to say, instead of just two things about the will, say there's three things about the will. Start with the last will and testament section. Or, you know, obviously the first thing is the safe deposit box, right? But second thing is the last will and testament section, right? Joe, this is actually really important. This is where you put your executor. Do you know what your executor, have you ever heard of that term before, Joe? Okay, you haven't dealt with parents passing away or anything like that? Parents are still around?
Yeah.
Okay. And I found that out in rapport. And I found that out during the Richard Chunka video. 2 concerns they were seeing. 1, families were passing away without wills in place. Families were fighting over stuff. A lot of money was going unclaimed. Have you ever dealt with anything like that, Joe? Have you ever been an executor on an estate? No. Anyway, second biggest concern is the benefits to work aren't permanent. Right? So I just let's keep jabbing them. Let's keep jabbing. Oh, you never dealt with that before? Never been an executor on an estate? No, I haven't. All right, I'm going to move on. But now I'm going to bring it back in your face during the will. Right here, Joe, that executor we were talking about right here, you said you don't know what that is. You said you didn't know. Okay. Or you said that you never, because I'll educate you real quick. It's okay. It's totally fine. No, what is that? Yeah, well, no problem, Joe. So what the executor actually is, it's a fancy word for the person that's actually going to be handling your estate. And then they'll be like, estate, I don't know what the hell that is either. Your estate, judging by the look on their face, and your estate is a fancy term for where all your valuable, where all your any tangible assets and property that are in your name, they all go to your estate when you die. So your cars, your investments, your bank accounts, your mortgage, your homes, that's all going to go into your estate when you die, Joe. And your executor is who you assign on this will to handle that estate, divvy up the property to who it should go to, but also pay any debts and claims made against your estate. So you want to pick a financially stable executor right here, Joe, someone that can take a hit if they have to, because all too often what we've noticed, our members are passing away, debt collectors, mortgage companies, loan companies, they can actually legally make claims against your estate. And if your executor doesn't have the money to take care of those, they can actually sell the belongings out of your estate to take care of those debts instead. He's going to be like, what the fuck? I did not know that. Right? Did not know that. Some of y'all look like you don't even want to be in this room right now, man. I'm just going to start booting people out of here in a second. So with that being said, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that executor line, even if he knew about it, if I let him, I know as well, it's still going to help push that agenda. You know? Yeah, I know what an executor is. My dad just died. That was insane. Oh, your dad just, stop. Now I'm done being big boss, and I'm going to be big emotional, big heart. Your dad passed. Man, that's tough. My dad's 72, man, and I can't say I know what that's like, but we do handle a lot of the death claims being part of quality control, and it never gets easier. How did that go? Did the funeral go well? Did you have to pay? Did you kind of get caught up in his estate? Were you his executor? Is that why you know? Yeah, I was his executor. It was pretty simple. He didn't own a lot of belongings, so there wasn't much debt involved. It just kind of all got transferred to my mother. And then when my mother died, that's when it got pretty rough on me, because then I was her executor, and there was some debts to be paid and everything. Yeah, it's rough. State of Illinois charges inheritance tax and everything, right, Joe? Yeah. Now, did he have any life insurance in place? Any permanent life insurance to help out with all that? No, actually, he had something small through the union, but we had to come up, me and my sister had to come up with about 10 grand out of pocket. Okay, no problem. Well, that brings me to my next point on the will, and the most important part of the will, estate information. This is where you put all the permanent life insurance that you do have. The only life insurance they don't ask you to list here is anything through work. I'm sure you already know this, Joe. That's a humble way of teaching someone that's older. I'm sure you already know this, Joe. And if he doesn't, he's going to respect the hell out of that. He's going to be like, thanks for not making me, be called out. I'm sure you already know this, Joe, but the reason why we don't put anything through work here is because when we quit, get fired, retire, what happens? It goes away, right? Don't be afraid to get them to repeat things. A lot of times in those sits, I would not do the things in my other sits. I would be hesitant to make him repeat all the yeses. I would be hesitant to do the whole, let's say we put this money aside and you were going to save $100 a month at the bank. I would try to be like giving him too much credit, and me actually giving him too much credit and stopping all those nuances and tie downs is what continues the whole, we don't need anything and we just got to think about it and we just got to check our budget, right? But when you came and you brought all that juice, he's going to be like, my man Steven's right. I don't think I need to check a budget. If I don't get this in line, there won't be a budget. So the only reason you're probably getting I want to think about it and I want to check my budget from these older, more professional, more qualified people who really, in our business, the highest qualified they can get is having over 100 grand of income barely, and they got their retirement set up better than the other blue collar guys because they actually are proactive in their life. But we ain't talking about high level executives making $250,000. So really, these higher level people still don't scare me. Like they think they don't let them make you think that their shit don't stink. That's the main thing. At the end of the day, they're just middle class Joe and Mary who grew up just like your parents did. Shouldn't be scared, nothing, they don't got nothing fancy going on. You're the one that's doing something fancy. You're the one out here working longer and harder than they probably ever did in their entire life. 14-hour days, 7 days a week, on your way to make $250,000 in a few years. He should be scared of you. You're doing stuff that they never even, they took the nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, that's what unions are made for. You can work 40 hours, have a simple job, no college degree. Might not be too simple in some of these unions. It's really hard actually, but that's like the 95% of Americans. You're over here doing 5% shit. So be confident. Yes.
Another question.
Yes, sir.
How do you pitch a whole life to business owners with your approach of like a tax write-off?
I mean, and the options, how do I pitch it to them? Or during whole, what do I say?
I mean, maybe both. Like, there's this one guy the other day, he was like one of these more qualified people. They're in the SEIU, the wife was the lead. She was like she had her own jewelry business. I don't even really know how she was in the SEIU, but the husband was like, they're Polish. He was 58, had like 2 businesses, like giving Kelsey a real hard time at the beginning.
2 businesses, that's great. What businesses? Jewelry and what else?
She had a jewelry business. He said he had 2 businesses, but like he wasn't really giving, like he didn't really want to be there. Wasn't really until I hopped in during terminal and like started opening them up.
Right.
Then he started asking. He's asking about like a $400,000 whole life policy. It's like $1,400 a month for him. And I was like,
yeah. So I mean, that's like your trainees started that. So everything we just talked about was already happening, and that's it. Yeah. So that's why he's coming into that kind of, wanting to shoot his shot instead of being like the student. He's trying to be like the head guy in charge. Like, what's $400,000 a whole? Like, when did he ask you what that looked like? At the end or during term and whole?
Like during term, like I didn't even really go through the term and whole drawing. It was like I kind of just.
Well, that's your first mistake.
I know, but it was like I was just lucky to even talk about the subject, because they were not having it. He like stormed off during the middle, beginning to sit, like, one of those guys.
When did he come back?
He like calmed down. I think his wife like yelled at him, and he sat down. Yeah. They had terms that he didn't really know about whole life, so I did like a little drawing, explained the whole life, and he was just asking about it. And I knew he was a business owner, so like I just don't know. So
he had term, but you didn't go over term in the term and whole life though, right?
I didn't really do like term.
You didn't do a full term and whole because he stormed off. He was an angry guy. You were letting those internal objections. That's exactly what we were just talking about, right? So you can't let that happen. You could have sold that guy. You can bitch him down real quick. You got to just go through term and whole anyway, and stay confident and do those things I was talking about. Like when he came back after storming off, I'd be like, Joe, we got you back. Joe, I know you probably had a long, hard day at work, my man. You sound like you're busting your ass. 2 businesses, 3 businesses. You guys got kids. That cannot be easy. But I promise you, Joe, who's the union member? The wife or him?
SEIU.
Him?
She
was. I promise you, Joe, your wife's union has set you guys up with a lot of valuable benefits today. And it's actually like a blessing that you can even have access to these, because if you weren't in the union paying all those union dues your wife's paid, Mary, how long have you been in the union for? She old?
Yeah,
Probably a long time, right?
yeah.
20 years? Your union dues anywhere between 30 to 40 a month, 30 to 50 a month. I mean, Mary, you got to understand, Joe, your wife's paid over 30 grand into this union, and this is one of the ways they're giving back. So I know it's been a tough day. I know it's been a long day, but these benefits are very valuable. So if you can just stick with this for a little bit, I promise you, by the end of this appointment, I really don't need you to, jump down my trainee. I don't need you to kind of get at us or get any kind of upset. There's nothing to be upset about. All I need you to do is just listen and ask questions. And I promise you, by the end of our appointment, you and your wife will be in a better spot financially than you were before, whether you get any of those additional benefits or not. But that would help that whole control thing on your end. That would have helped you actually be able to draw term and whole out, because you would have been like, all right, this dude don't take no shit. He's not taking my hissy fit. Like, you're a 50-something-year-old man, you just had a hissy fit. I'm embarrassed for you, dog. Like, what am I going to get nervous about? You can't even control yourself. You've been on this earth for 58 years. Like, what? He knows he's messing up. He knows he's messing up. He'll come back and feel embarrassed, and then you'll say that line right after, and he'll be like, he's not the one. Like, there's people in his life that control him and still tell him what to do. You know what I mean? Like, there's people in his life he's tried that with that have not taken it. But yeah, during term, first of all, if you didn't do term, he wouldn't have known how bad term is. But I would have just lightly beat it up. Would have been like, now, term, as you already know, Joe, I'm sure you already know this, but term is super cheap, super attractive, because you can get a high death benefit for a low amount. Term is more for the if in life. If you were going to die in a certain period of time, or if you needed some extra protection for a business for a certain period of time, you'd get some term. The thing about term is super attractive, super affordable. You're only paying this much a month, then it goes up, then it goes up, then it goes up. I'm sure you already know this one, Joe, but what do you think happens with term at 65? You didn't know that, did you? Or you wouldn't be keeping this term right now. Guarantee he didn't know term went away, did he?
I can't remember.
Okay. So tell him it goes away, and then I'll be like, now, I know it looks like I'm beating the heck out of term. I'm not. I'm just beating up the approach that some people take, going after the cheaper option right out of the gate. They don't really educate you on what's going to happen with term in the long run. They're not trying to give you any large death benefits when you're above the age of 65 for any low prices. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, nor do you really need a high death benefit when you're older and you're in your age group. Okay. So is there any questions on term or how that works? All right. Now, whole life, you're doing a little bit of a better job, of course. Whole life is what we specialize in back at the union. Old school, traditional whole life. We don't have any of that stuff that you see on TV that's relying on the stock markets, universal, this, that, the other. We only have the old school whole life, where, let's say you're going to do the 200,000 again. Let's say you're 35 again for easy measure. You're going to spend a little bit more, like 180, since he's older, maybe ramp it up. You're going to spend a little bit more, like 180 or 200 a month, depending on what you get. But what do you think happens to this premium? Right, it stays the same. He's going to be like, what? It stays the same? He's like, why the hell did I get that before? That's why he wanted to see 400,000 of whole, right? So, but he doesn't. Now that I slipped in, you don't need that much when you're older. I'm on the right track here. Whole life, yada, yada. Stays the same price. You don't really pay with whole life with your money. It's more like with your health and your age. Because you could be the sickest guy alive, develop cancer, yada, yada. It'll never go up, right? Only other difference with whole life and term is, Joe, these premiums that you pay into this term, month after month, year after year, all this money that you're paying into the term, and you don't even know what he's paying into his term just yet, unless you pulled it out in the will. Did you?
I mean,
You didn't do the will.
I did the will.
So someone that did the will needs to pull that out in the will. All this money you're spending in this term, month after month, year after year, do you think you get your money back? And you're just slowly proving to him that he's made a bad decision and he's spending a lot of money on nothing if it's going to go away at 65. They'll figure that out themselves. Now, with the whole life doing a better job, blah, 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 your premiums don't just go away. They actually go into this nice big bucket called a forced savings. Grows at a fixed 4.5% interest rate. Bank account, steroids. People still need that. Like, he's never seen whole life before. Like, you need to, it's going to blow his mind, the 4.5%. We don't realize it because we do it all the time, but that's where the meat and potatoes come out, you know? Matthew Jans, I will get to you for sure, brother. But You bring out that in the whole life, and now say all your premiums go into here month after month, year after year. They grow at that interest rate. Bank on steroids. Do you have a bank? Right. That's why they did this, because they saw that our union members were always trying to save. Our business owners were always trying to save and save and save for their business, just weren't saving enough. So this is a good way to save and invest at the same time you're protecting your family with the death benefit. Any questions on whole life? Great. It's tax. And I'll say also, a lot of people ask me, Joe, you're a business owner, right? So Joe, when you're a business owner, business owners typically spend a lot more on their whole life because, for one, it's growing at that 4.5% interest rate. So it's an investment that they're getting back. For two, all that money you're paying for that premium is actually 100% tax deferred. It's a tax write-off. So while you're also gaining money with the cash value, not only is the cash value tax-free if you take a loan out on it, but also the money you're paying into it, you're not getting taxed either. So that's why, I don't know how long you've been a business owner or if anyone's ever approached you about whole life, but this is where business owners look. Term is to protect assets for a short period of time. Whole life is where you double your money and you clean your money, honestly. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I know a lot of people that have owned businesses that have gotten out of paying taxes, but I've never seen anyone get out of paying taxes on the way into an investment and on the way out of an investment. But only business owners can do that. Right? And then he'll be like, well, shit. And then he can still tell me right there he wants to see a $400,000 policy. And I'll be like, yeah, we can definitely show you that, Joe. Don't even know if you can qualify. In fact, I don't even know if you even need that much. There's actually a needs analysis to determine whether you even need that much or what you need anyway. Any good financial advisor will tell you, Joe, you want to keep your term. You want to keep the things that are variable, that might pay out, your investments that are aggressive, that might grow, and they will fall and they will grow over the years. But any financial advisor will tell you, for a business, you want to have your guaranteed portion of your portfolio too, which is the whole life, your guaranteed tax deferred portion. Maybe if I'm feeling, frisky enough, I'll pull out the tax control triangle on him real quick, but I won't bore him to death. Your voice inflection has to be key here, and it has to be quick. If he's a business owner, I would assume he'd be following this. Some business owners don't do much math and finances, and he might be looking like he's in the clouds right there. That's when I'd probably start to lighten it up a little bit and finish my tax control triangle, get into the needs analysis, and try to at least get this guy 50 or 30 for his funeral and let him know that he's okay if this term is going to last. Pull his term, it goes till 65. Well, Joe, I think you did a great job. Your $400,000 term is covering your business and your income, but the problem is right here is we don't have any permanent coverage. We don't have any tax deferred guaranteed payouts to go to our family immediately. Now, Joe, you've been a business owner for a long time in Illinois. You probably understand, you probably already know this, but when you die with a business, the business just doesn't die with you. Your family has a lot of taxes and a lot of expenses to take on at once. And when that term is gone, this whole life is going to take care of that for you. So I'll write you down some options. As much as you need this, as much as your business needs this, as much as your family needs this, I just got to see if you can even qualify. Any questions on that? All right, Matt Jans.
Yeah, my question was kind of be integrated to what you were going over. When you're referring to the will, obviously the family information guy, we're going over the insurance, but when you guys are sitting down with the union member on your team, are you guys going over the family information guide and the will kit?
No. And in fact, that's a great question. Some of my agents that do go over the will kit are in houses way too long. Only time I'll ever go over will kit is maybe if that dude wasn't being such a jagoff. And he said to me when I pulled out the will, I said, do you have a will set up yet? And if he goes, no, and honestly, I've been meaning to get one, I know that that's really important. Then I'll be like, all right, I'll go over the family information guide, the estate information, and the last will and testament section where you name your executor is on the family information guide. Right, so no, I won't go over that full-blown will because it will take too long. It will put a hole in my momentum. And it's gonna probably hurt your sale because they've been there for too long at this point and they've been bombarded with too much information. But at the end, I will maybe tickle his fancy after going over the family information guide. I might tell him, you know what, brother, I can tell you're very serious about this. I can tell you have a business and I know you're gonna need something a little bit more detailed than this family information guide. We actually have a no cost benefit that's only designed for certain unions that you guys don't get today. It's a full-blown living and final will. It's much more detailed. It has a hell of a lot of rooms and spaces for assets, guns, jewelry, businesses, backup executors, and even a living will. So when you are incapacitated at the hospital, someone can take care of the business and make decisions for you. He'll be like, damn, that'd be great, Vince. And I'll be like, yeah, at the end of the appointment, I'll check around the office. We actually just ran out of them, but I might be able to get you one. But I won't go over it. Any other questions?
I do have one.
She's not on my team. I'm gonna take care of her first.
When you are going over the needs with somebody that, basically you get their income and everything, and you go over the options and they do pick an option, but you know that they're probably gonna cancel, like what do you do in that situation? Like, do you like trial it or do you just?
What would make
know
you
what I
think that
mean?
they're gonna cancel?
Like if they're like on unemployment or something, and you know that maybe it's through rapport that they're looking for a job, but maybe like unemployment is paying them more than what they're looking for with like a job. Like I had a Globe Labs lead and I sold him, but it was a great sit, but then he just canceled, like, well, it just lapsed like last month. So and I had a feeling that it was not like he was not going to keep it because it was like an $88 check, but he was like, no, that's totally comfortable. I triple solidified, but I knew that eventually it'd probably be like, bad business. So,
Did it lapse his bank or did he just cancel it?
no, it lapsed like through the bank, like he didn't have enough money.
Did you get a printout about that?
Yeah, it did.
Did it do that thing where I think you have to have the policy for a while first. How long did he have it? How many times did he pay before that happened? Like once?
It was, no, it was 2 or 3 times.
Sometimes when our company sees that you've been paying for like a certain amount of months and they lapse, they overdraft your bank account. I've seen the printout come to their house and say, due to you being a valued customer with American Income,
Yes, yeah,
we'll actually go ahead and we'll waive this month's premium as long as you promise to pay the next one.
yeah. So we got that letter, but it was like 4 days before the next one was about to be drafted.
You got that letter?
Yeah, because we got one here too, so.
So it
I
did
called
tell him that?
Yeah, so they sent it to him too, and I called him, but obviously he never.
You didn't answer?
No.
Well, I think that, with that being the situation there, solidification would have been my first thing, but you said you triple, quadruple solidified. What was the need you sold him on? What did he tie it down to? What did he pick? Why did he like it?
His son, it was 40,000 of whole life, and then it was 25 for his son. And he really liked the Head Start, so I sold him obviously the GIO, but mostly it was just the
So
final expenses.
$25 a month for 40,000 for his son?
It was 25,000 of whole life with the GIO for his son, but everything
And his
together-
coverage,
and his coverage,
Which was
everything
what?
together was $88. So I think
Okay.
his was like 70.
70 grand?
maybe $70 like for a month, and then his son was like 18 or something.
And what was the $70 a month getting him?
It was like 40,000 of whole life.
Probably could have got him 50 for like $2 more going up into that next bracket.
Mhm.
But yeah, honestly, maybe when I called him and that's something to be remembered is that you could, 40,000 is going to cost the same as 50 grand because of the next bracket, but you do make a little bit less commission. But it's not too bad of a difference at all. Select Life's the biggest difference, but solidification, and I would just look back onto what I sold him on. Because if I sold him on funeral and final expenses, there's just something off in his understanding of whole life and how valuable it is. Because if he truly wanted it when it lapsed, he would have made sure he put money in that bank. He probably would have answered your call. But you never know. He could have just not got your call and missed it. I would keep leaving him voicemails and letting him know that he's qualified for this, that, and the other. But to answer your main question, if I know someone's gonna cancel, I just solidify the shit out of it. You know what I mean? I'll ask them like multiple times, like, are you sure that this is comfortable for you and your son? Because we can just get you started with your son or yourself right now and get your son on later. I know you said you're on unemployment, Joe. Keep in mind, this isn't like because they'll be like, yeah, no, it's comfortable. It's comfortable. All right. I just want to make sure this isn't going to take food off the table or drastically change your lifestyle at all. No, it's comfortable. Okay. Reason why I ask is because, Joe, this isn't like a short-term fix. This is a long-term solution that you're putting in place for your family for a permanent problem. And this permanent problem, I'm taking out the door with me today. So this is going to be, when we get enrolled into permanent life insurance, guess how long you're going to have to keep paying those bills, right? Right. And this isn't a solidification I would use on anybody unless I thought what you thought. But I'd be like, right, we got to pay it for life. Now, of course, you got paid up options, you got your cash value. Remember, Joe, you can always take your cash out and always stop paying later on if it becomes uncomfortable, and you can always adjust. But I just want to make sure that this $80 a month total right now with unemployment is going to be okay for you. And maybe someone said that Sabrina Lloyd's agency, when they would sign these truckers up at the truck stops, they would actually ask them to show them 3 statements, or they would ask them to show them like 3 times the premium in their bank account before they would sign them up. So maybe that's something too. Like, how much are you sure that this is comfortable for you? What do you think you have in your checking account right now? Because this is going to draft in 2 to 6 days. I would just be very much more detailed throughout the what comes next, and that finish off the what comes next. And when that thing pops up that shows you the cash value example and it shows you the paid up options example, I would go over that with him real quick too. Now, Joe, hey, this actually just popped up on my screen. Can you see this? Remember how I told you your policy is going to grow cash value? You can always stop paying if it becomes uncomfortable. Yep. So right here in your policy, Joe, when you get this in 6 to 8 weeks, you can always turn to this page in your policy and it will show you exactly how much cash you have in there and exactly what your paid up option would be if you stopped paying and what death benefit you'd be able to keep. That way he understands the whole life to a T. And even though he might have understood it pretty well to buy it that day, I want to continue to make sure that he understands exactly how to check it and exactly how it grows that cash and how it's guaranteed. It's just a friendly reminder. It shows you right here, Joe, after 2 years, it will start growing. Every year it's a fixed amount, it's a guarantee. It's all math. So every year you're going to be able to see your amount you have in here. And at any time you'll be able to take it out. It's a win-win. Any questions on your whole life policy or why you got it or what it's going to take care of? And even during the summary sheet, I'd be like, now remember, you're paying this for this much. What does the whole life come with, Joe? What's the reason you got it? Well, my cash value. All right, what else? My paid up option. Great. Do you remember what your paid up option is and how that works? Okay, you remember how to check it? You said I turned to that page of your policy. Yep, good. Just want to make sure. All right. I would just be solidifying all over the place. But I'm willing to bet that something with the need you tied him down to might have been a little bit too quick, little kind of like sticker, like he was just, oh, this is great. And he gets it right there because it was great. But then there's something you must have left out of that sit that prompted a notion of his to be like 80 a month. Why am I doing this again? What is it covering again? This commercial just said I can get permanent coverage through Senior Life for half the price. You need to proactively beat anything they're going to hear or see or think about life insurance after they go and lock in with you for $80 a month. And $80 a month, honestly, isn't that much expensive. So I also use tie downs of $2 a day, hour power, hour your paycheck a week will take care of this forever. If I took away an hour, would it take food off the table if I gave you an hour? Right? Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Stephen, Andres?
Yeah, I just wanted. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to follow up on that with the closing and solidifying. Is there anything you do specifically after that day? Like, do you do something to text them back a couple of days? Besides, whatever you put in your mail in the folder, do you follow up with them in any other way?
Good question. So, as far as my solidification, if it's a young kid, if they're under 35 and they're getting whole life and they're getting a lot of coverage, that means they were sold on the cash, they were sold on the locking in your health. So I will always show them that page that pops up about the cash value and pay up options. That way they know exactly how they have. I want to make sure that if someone came to them on the job site and said, Andres, you're paying $90 a month for 50,000. Me and my wife have 500,000 for 90 a month. What are you doing? I want him to have enough knowledge to be like, no, man, I got cash value. Mine's locked in at this age and it goes up every year. You know, when your term, I bet your term expires, Joe. My term doesn't expire. What do you mean? Yeah, it will. I'm telling you, that's what the guy told me. That's why I got the whole life. My price never goes up and I grow cash and paid up options, right? So just over-educating at the end. But at first, when you guys start to over-educate, it might sound like diarrhea out the mouth. So get used to it, get accustomed to it so it can be clean and efficient and understandable. And not confusing, because half the times when these clients are confused, they will not tell you they are. But on top of that, I'll end with the paid up option page, cash value page. I'll do the 3 solidifications, long-term, short-term fix, permanent solution I'm taking out the door today. If they're younger, I'll be like, kind of like a dad. Now remember, Joe, you did a good job when I'm going over the what comes next form. In the next 2 to 6 days, like I hope you guys go over the what comes next form over Zoom. In the next 2 to 6 days, this premium is going to come out of the account, $86 a month, like we talked about. After that, you elected the 10th of the month to be the second time it will come out. Now, Joe, 86 is comfortable, you said, right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure because this isn't a long term, it's a short term permanent solution. You did a good job today, Joe. Someone your age grabbing this now, it's a win-win. That's why I grabbed mine as well when I was your age. You're going to be laughing to the bank when you and your friends are older and they're paying hundreds of dollars or more for that same option. So you did a good job today, Joe, but that's all we had to go over today. Is there anything, now keep in mind, over the next 2 weeks, I will send out your blue policy folder that will have your claims forms, your freedom of choice certificate, the will kit, and my business card in there. So you'll always be able to get a hold of me, right? And then in 6 to 8 weeks, over the next 7 days, you'll get the folder. In the next 2 weeks, over the next 7 days, you'll actually receive a call from home office to verify. It's going to be coming from this number, this, that, and the other. I'll make sure he's prepped up for the home office phone call. And if it's over 1,500 ALP and you're in your first 90 days, tell them that they're going to be getting another call from Edgar from Des Plaines, from a 242, whatever our area code is. So you get 2 verification calls at this time. Edgar will call before 3 on most likely Monday to Wednesday when our apps are getting checked. Home office will call over the next 7 days from an 800 number. I memorized it. 800-411-8808. It's the underwriting number. And you elected that they should call between 6 to 9. Any questions on the next 7 days in the verification calls or the premium and when it's going to come out? Okay. Last thing to have me go over, Joe, over the next 6 to 8 weeks, your application will be finished with underwriting. During that time, you will still be covered if something were to happen to you. 3 things can happen. I do my rated risk. And I reassure him that based on what he's told me today, as long as he was honest about his medical questions, I don't see any reason why he'd be rated or declined. If he has high blood pressure or if he has asthma, I will let him know. I don't see any reason why you'd be declined. Maybe you would get a slight $5, $10 rating max. If that happens, Joe, rated risk. If it's over 10, I have to call you. If it's under 10, you guys know the story. Any questions on that? Great. Awesome. Now, Joe, then I'll do the VIBs, right? How do you think I did for you today? I'll remind him of how great the sit was besides the life insurance. Valuable. Oh, I don't know. The life insurance is most valuable. All right. How about the education or maybe the no cost benefits or the will? Oh, yeah, the education. You were great. The customer service was great. The will. Yeah. So you believe the program is of value? Because I'm also filling out this officer report form for your union to let them know how we did today. The program is of value. Was the representative courteous today? Great. What do you think the most important part of the program was? That's the I and VIBs. I'm sorry. I got an important question for you, right? And I'll say, who do you know? And I'll reiterate, whether it's for